Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Alex Barrett. I'm going to be your guide for this morning and take you up to Culloden, tell you a little bit on the way about what led to Culloden in the first place, and point out some of the scenery here around Inverness on the way up. Right, let's get started. I've not seen this before either, so it's going to be all new to all of us. Clearly we're parked up in the car park back of Eden Court. Eden Court is the largest entertainment centre in the northern part of Scotland. It's funded partly by government and partly by sales subs. It's actually been closed for the last year and a half, just over, due to the COVID issues, but it has received quite a lot of grant funding and has put on a few open air concerts and other events. On your left now you've got St Andrew's Cathedral, the main cathedral for the Diocese of the Highlands and Islands. The bishop here is, why are we turning left? The bishop here is actually a female, one of the only female bishops in the UK. Church of Scotland actually introduced female clergy before other churches around the world. The architecture you can see is, I see what we're doing here. The architecture that you see is made from local Inverness sandstone. It's quite a grey stone, quite dull and boring, but it's a good stone for building. It's resilient and has good insulation material properties as well. This is the heavy stone. I'll just wait for the lights here, and then hopefully we'll turn right. Doobie-doobie-doo. We're just moving into the main restaurant quarter of Inverness. If you're stuck of an evening and looking for a place to go, this area to our right here, where we're just about to pass through, is going to be the place where you're going to be looking to eat. Unfortunately though, it can get very busy and you do generally need to book beforehand, so it's worth having a word with your hotel concierge to get some recommendations for meals. Come along, guys. Couple of pedestrians strolling arm in arm, lamenting Inverness. Salvation Army is a British branch of the church. It's actually a church of its own nature. I'll tell you a little bit about it later on. But we're approaching the main bridge into Inverness itself now. This is the Bridge of Ness. To your right, you'll glimpse views of the castle out the windows there to the right and up. And also approaching as we cross over the lights here. Every light we approach today is going to be red. We've arranged that especially so that we can pause a lot. Is Inverness Museum and Art Gallery. To the left is the Mustard Seed Restaurant down on the left hand side. Highly recommend that for an evening out. Okay, the ScotLink City Link bus on the right, passing through now. It's our local public bus service. Oogly doogly, off we go. Serious robots going on a moment. Just approaching on the right here is the old town hall. It's only open a couple of times a week, but hopefully we will get a chance to take a look at it at some point. Oh, the ever popular Inverness McDonald's restaurant. And we're coming up the road to the castle now. The castle was the centre for the law courts in Inverness. They've now been moved to their own law centre out of town in the new estate, and the castle is being redeveloped as a museum and public space with galleries and so forth. We're moving into the area, towards the area known as the Crown. It's the most desirable estate. On the left is the BBC's headquarters, I think. Somewhere, maybe not. I'm a bit confused at this junction here. As I say, this is where all the rich people live in Inverness. The Crown. Plenty of hotels, guest houses here as well, made from the larger old houses where the merchants used to live. Now, in fact, too large for one family, so they've been split up into various things. No longer having servants, as we did in the good old days. As I said, all the traffic lights today will be red. Stephen's Church on the right. Okay. Coming up now should be, I believe, the prison. HM Prison Inverness is tucked around the back streets here. That's where all our crims go. It's an old-fashioned prison, actually developed before the main part of the town. Interesting that the town grew around the prison. Well, am I ahead of myself? Is this St. Stephen's on the right here? On the left? Oh no, there's King's Mills on the right. Did we just pass King's Mills? Yeah, I think we did. That was King's Mills Hotel on the right. Sorry there. Missed that. That's a hotel where... I love that hotel. I think it's gorgeous. Best hotel in Inverness, but don't tell anyone. Down to the stream, the Brook by the golf course. This is Inverness Golf Course. It's not a particularly famous golf course. It's not a bad one to play, I'm told. I've not played it myself. Coming up to the Fluke pub on the right. The Fluke was named after an underwater stream that leaked a lot. To the left on the roundabout, you will see, as we pass it, King Duncan's Well. King Duncan was one of the early kings of Scotland. It's said to be buried somewhere around the garage on the right. Not actually in the garage, there's a stone that suggests he might be somewhere near the spa that we passed just now. We're coming up on our left to Raigmore Hospital now, the main National Health Service hospital in Inverness. You may have heard about the NHS. The NHS in Scotland is run separately from the NHS in England. However, all services are free to the patients at the time of need, at the point of delivery. I spent some time there last year in February. Also at Maggie's Centre there, they take care of cancer people, like myself, with cancer. On our right at the roundabout ahead, good list me, we're stopping even at pedestrian crossings here. We passed the main police headquarters. On our left, the main bingo hall. Actually, this was built as a bingo hall, which is quite unusual as bingo halls go. Often they're converted cinemas from the days when the cinemas started closing down. And we start heading out of town now, heading up towards Culloden. So let's have a think about Culloden and what Culloden was all about. First of all, Culloden was not a war between the English and Scots, nor was it strictly a war between Catholic and Protestant. Culloden was partly about succession and the Stuarts versus the Hanoverians, partly about religion, partly about territory, partly about tradition, but mostly about politics and power. And it was really the Hanoverians, based in London under King George and his nephew, who became known as the Butcher, Cumberland, who came to meet with Bonnie Prince Charlie, who'd arrived the year before and gathered quite an army. In fact, they gave the Hanoverians quite a scare because they got down as far as Derby in England before suddenly getting the willies and turning around. Excuse me a minute. They had to return to... they returned up to Scotland, and the Hanoverians chased them. Interestingly, when they got to the borders, the Hanoverians went up the east coast, while the Stuarts supporters, Bonnie Prince Charlie supported the Jacobites, as we call them. James II's supporters, James I's supporters, Jacobites, took the road to Inverness. The Hanoverians took the east coast because they had easier supplies that way. They could gather the troops and do a little bit of training and replenishment on the way. The Jacobites were far less organised, and they just took the route up to Inverness, where they had headquarters at Ruthern. I'll revise that one and get back to you. And something went really wrong in the leadership. I don't know. I get the feeling they were pissed because for some reason they picked the field of Culloden as a staged battlefield. And when we get there, you'll see that Culloden is not a place where you'd want to hold a battle. Even today, it's marshy, it's boggy, it's pretty horrible. And well, it's a mistake. They could have taken the battle further to the east towards Nairn, towards where the English troops were, where there's a lot more suitable land for battlefields. However, this is where they were. And not only did they make that mistake, they also decided to go on a midnight raid over to the Hanoverians who were overnighting in Nairn to see if they could rout them the night before. That failed because they couldn't get to them because it was pissing down the rain. And they came back knackered, unfed, and all of a sudden they had to line up for the battle, which we're just approaching as we speak now. Are we? Okay, there were 12 clans came to the battle, but the interesting thing was that some of the clans were represented on both sides of the field. It's interesting how many of the Scottish lairds were a bit canny and sent their kids to fight for one son to fight on one side, one son to fight on the other, to ensure that they actually had children on the winning side when the time came. Yeah, so you can tell that by this time, confidence in Charles Edward Stuart was certainly not as great as it had been when he first arrived that year before. His leadership team seemed to be in disarray. They were disorganised, they didn't have ration supplies coming up. They really were not battle ready on this wet, misty April morning. I missed something on the road. Have I missed something? I don't think I have. La 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 la. Oh, here we go. We're just approaching Culloden battlefield now. The red flag that you might have noticed on the right as we went past it was one of the government lines. As we get into Culloden car park, I'd ask you to stay in your seats for a moment until the driver's pulled in and parked up properly. As you can see, there's plenty of ice on the ground. And we're not going to get in today. Okay, that should be the end.